Coming up on Hawkeye Sports Report, it's opening week for our show and opening weekend for the football team. We'll have a full preview of this weekend's matchup with Northern Illinois, and the season for some other Iowa teams is already underway. We'll take a look at how they fared in their first week of the season, as well as what lies ahead this week. And there's plenty of new coaches on different teams this fall. We'll sit down with one of the newest head Hawks coming up. Hello everyone and welcome to the Hawkeye Sports Report. I'm Nick Dorman. Hawkeye Sports Report will come to you weekly with a look at everything Hawkeye sports. We'll have highlights, exclusive interviews, and in-depth features throughout the year, so be sure to check back right here every Thursday for your weekly dose of Hawkeye athletics. And it's no surprise the big talk of this week is Iowa football. After another trip to the Insight Bowl in December, it's been an eventful offseason with a number of coaching changes taking place. There's plenty of anticipation and a regenerated excitement surrounding the program, and the new look team will finally get things going this weekend at Soldier Field in Chicago against Northern Illinois. With a young and somewhat inexperienced team, Coach Ferentz and players spoke earlier in the week about the challenges of opening up the season on the road.
You know, we feel like this team can be successful. But that being said, we know how inexperienced we are, and we know every step's going to be a little bit of an adventure, and that's, you know, starting with this week, getting on a bus and taking a road trip. A little different than playing at home, playing an opponent in a strange stadium that's you know, a dangerous opponent. So we've, you know, every step's going to be an adventure, and every step hopefully be a learning experience. And you know, we feel like we have the potential of a good football team, but we really have to maximize our opportunities, and how well we can do that will determine how the season goes. So it's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it's a little different. This is my 5th year here, and we've never done that. So it's going to be a little different, but we'll be all right. I think we're going to have less guys out there, but we'll be together and we'll be all right.
I mean, every game is a game. Every game is you need to win. So, I mean, that's how I treat it. I treat it like a home game.
No, that's obviously a little different change, but I mean, this is almost more like a bull site. It's like a neutral site, so it's going to be a great stadium. I've got to watch a game there in the past, and it's a really neat venue. I think it hypes up the intensity that much more. I think I'll just probably see it on my own. They played there. Iowa played there the year before I got here, so I remember watching that game on TV. Like I said, I got to go to a Bears-Eagles game a couple years ago on our Thanksgiving break, so I've seen the stadium. It's a great place, and it'll be a great field to play on.
You know, it is interesting. It's going to be I guess it's going to be the first time, at least for me, that our first game hasn't been at home. So definitely an interesting feel, but a really exciting atmosphere with you know, the stadium. It's going to be a great place to play, and I'm sure, knowing our fans, I'm sure we'll have plenty of people in attendance for that game. So I'm definitely excited.
You know, I wouldn't object to being at home and going there next week, but you know, it just kind of raises the level a little bit more. But the biggest focus is Northern Illinois. They're a good football team. It's very capable. They've beaten Big Ten teams in recent history, and there's no saying that couldn't happen again this week. So that's our number one thing, is focusing on them, and you know, doing that as well as trying to play our best. Those two things are the things that are prominent in our thoughts right now.
For an in-depth look at this weekend's matchup, we're now joined by Rob Brooks. Rob will be here every week breaking down each and every game throughout the season. And Rob, this is Coach Ferentz's youngest team. We found that out earlier this week. There's a lot of changes, a lot of new coaches. Your thoughts on the makeup of this team heading into the opener?
The most experienced Big Ten coach with the youngest team. And you mentioned it, players and coaches. And I think that's really, Nick, when you look at this team, that really intrigues people. Yeah, they throw out the wins. How many is it going to be? And certainly that's always fun to look at. But I think the intrigue of both new coordinators and then the youth of this football team are the key things. But you always go back to the quarterback position, and there you're not young. You have James Vandenberg. I think that's a key. I think there's enough up front offensively that Iowa will be able to throw and pass the ball. And you look at the backfield, yeah, there's some youth there, but also the wide receivers. You have a potential first-team All-Big Ten, maybe more in Keenan Davis, Gavante Martin-Manley. Good experience there. I think the one thing to look at on Saturday is the depth behind those guys. That's where the youth will come in.
There's still a lot of question marks out there. Coach Ferentz never really tips his hat in a press conference, but what's something that you took away from the press conference earlier in the week?
Well, you talk about all the youth on defense, and there's certainly going to be some of that up front on the defensive line, but one thing that I grabbed from Kirk Ferentz on Tuesday is that I think he and this coaching staff quietly think this defensive line is going to be better than people think. Steve Bigak, it looks to me that he's really kind of taken this group, put a chip on their shoulder, and realize that, hey, not people are talking about us maybe as an inexperienced group that needs to perform. Hey, we're going to go out and perform. Carl Davis, the couple of practices I've been to, has just been tremendous. He's taken 40, 50 pounds off. Quickness is there. Toughness is certainly there. And Dom Elvis, him being back. And then there's going to be some good stories that develop along the way.
Certainly. This Northern Illinois team, something that people don't know, they've had double-digit wins the past couple seasons, and they're only one of 10 teams that can say that. They can't be overlooking this Northern Illinois team at all.
It's a program. I mean, it is on solid footing. They have outstanding skill players year in and year out. 4 straight bowl games they've been to, 11 wins in back-to-back seasons, and you really don't know much about them because you talk about a program that has success at that level. Well, that means coaches move on and coaches move in. Mike Dunbar, a familiar name around the Big Ten Conference and the state of Iowa, head coach at UNI, offensive coordinator at Minnesota and Northwestern, really revamped and built that Northwestern offense when they had their best years. Who knows what you're going to see with Mike Dunbar at the helm, and he knows the Iowa program very well.
In your mind, very quickly, who has to perform for Iowa to be successful this weekend?
Yeah, I think there's really a 3 keys. One, James Vandenberg, he's got to be chomping at the bit for his senior season. He's got to play well. Obviously, the running back position, Damon Bullock, we'll watch him early on to see how he'll perform, but I think there's enough back there where Iowa will be able to run the football. And I think with the youth that we have talked about, getting off to a good start is ever so important. I look at the first 5 to 6 minutes. If some good things can happen for the Hawkeyes, want to stay obviously away from the turnovers.
Absolutely. Well, kickoff will be here before we know it. Be sure to tune back in next week, as Rob will be right back here to help break down Iowa's home opener against Iowa State. Another tough test early on in this season. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back with more Hawkeye Sports Report. This show is powered by Iowa Corn, the Iowa Corn Cyhawk Series. Track the score at iowacorncyhawkseries.com. Welcome back. 3 teams here at Iowa kicked off their season over the past week and a half. Women's soccer is coming off one of the most successful seasons in school history. Field hockey is coming off their 21st NCAA tournament appearance, and the volleyball team welcomes in another big group of newcomers as they try to continue to climb the ladder of arguably the nation's toughest conference. Let's start with soccer. What an opening week and a half it's been for them. Already 4 games into their season, and they have yet to be scored on. They opened up their season all the way back on the 17th with a 5-0 victory over Eastern Illinois. After that, they rattled off 3-0 wins over North Dakota and Northern Iowa and a 4-0 win over Loyola Chicago. And volleyball kicked off their season this past weekend hosting the Hawkeye Challenge. They went 3-1 on the weekend, defeating Chicago State, South Dakota State, and Valparaiso. Bethany Yeager and Shantae Thompson earned all tournament honors. Yeager led the team with 86 digs on the weekend, and Thompson had a team-high 11 blocks and also posted 38 kills. And the field hockey team entered their season this past weekend ranked 12th in the nation. They traveled east for the Big Ten ACC Challenge, where they rallied from a 2-0 deficit in their opening game against Wake Forest to win 3-2 in overtime. However, Sunday they ran into a buzzsaw as they were shut out by second-ranked North Carolina 5-0. We are now joined by head coach of the field hockey team, Tracy Grisbaum. And coach, it was kind of an up-and-down weekend. What did you learn? What was the biggest thing that you learned that opening weekend?
That we have to play consistent and start out our games a little bit sharper.
Kind of talk about that first game was kind of a nail-biter. Jessica Barnett had the game-winning goal in overtime, but I understand it's on a rule change this year. Some of the rules have changed. Can you kind of explain what has changed?
Yeah, the biggest rule change was presented to us a couple of days into preseason. It's basically an own goal. So any ball that's touched inside the penalty circle, whether it's by attacker or defender, is a goal if it crosses the goal line. So it was pretty intense, major rule change.
And that was a rule change that I understand kind of came in preseason, kind of came up quickly here.
It did. It absolutely did. We basically beat Wake Forest on an own goal. Couldn't have predicted it, could not have scripted it, but it did happen in overtime.
You were on the road this past weekend, and being on the road is something that you're going to have to get used to in the beginning part of the season. Your first 11 of your first 14 games are on the road. What challenges does that present for your team?
Actually, we're used to traveling. We're really road savvy, and I think opening up our second weekend of the season at home is absolutely fine. And then we have a 3-game stand at Stanford, so we're okay. We're used to traveling. We like planes and buses and opposite team's fields, it's okay. We beat Wake Forest at Wake Forest, so it's not a problem for us.
Good. You're home this weekend for one game. How important is it on these when you are at home, and especially for just one game, to get a win?
Absolutely. We want to really do well at Grandfield this year and every year, so we need to get back on track. Obviously, it was a tough loss last weekend, so we definitely want to head out this week and make a statement on Sunday.
What was the biggest message to your team after that second game when you were shut out by North Carolina? What was the biggest message that you're trying to get across to your team?
That we have to prepare, really. I mean, we take pride in our preparation, and you only have so much time from day one to day two on a back-to-back game weekend, but it was pretty clear that we didn't have our minds right. We didn't start out the game strong enough against North Carolina, and a team like that who's competing for a national championship year in and year out, you have to be on your A game from the very opening whistle.
You're preparing for that one game this coming weekend. Just kind of talk about how preparation's going so far.
So far, so good. Actually, it needed a day off for sure, and that's what we had yesterday because we've been going really strong since preseason. So, we have 3 days of practice, and we'll be ready to go Sunday.
With the team that came back with the success that you had at the end of the season last year and all the leadership on that group, was a loss early in the season like that an eye-opening loss? Obviously, you don't want to lose, but was that maybe a good thing in hindsight?
Yeah, I think we learned a lot last weekend, and it wasn't so much that we lost. It was the manner in which that I think we were a little disappointed in, but I think it showed a lot of character of how we came back on Saturday. So it's up to us to put that behind us and regroup and move onward.
And our play of the week, as you might expect, was in fact that game-winning goal by Jessica Barnett. Not what some might envision as a game-winning goal, but with that rule change in field hockey this year, the ball is hit anywhere outside the arc, deflected by a defender, and goes in the goal. It counts. That's exactly what happens here. Hawkeyes escape with a 3-2 victory in overtime. And now we have Jessica Barnett with us here in the studio to talk about that game-winning goal, or you said you weren't even shooting the ball there.
No, I really wasn't.
Can you kind of talk about the play as you remember it?
Okay, so I guess we were in overtime, so 7v7. I happened to get a break down the sideline, beat one of the players, and she committed a foul, so I just took it and went. Took it on my reverse and kind of pushed past it almost with a bit of a hop to it, hoping that maybe it would find Corinne Allen's stick. It didn't, but as I saw it going towards the goal, I said to myself, that's going to hit the post. And it did. I guess the goalkeeper didn't realize, and she actually nudged it into the goal.
Today's show is sponsored by Mediacom, the power to simplify. Go Hawks! It's now time for our Player of the Week. This week's honor goes to two players, to soccer players Chloe Lacasse and Ashley Cottrell. Both were instrumental in the soccer team's powerful start to the season. The team sits at 4-0 and have yet to allow a goal. Lacasse and Cottrell have combined to score 10 of the team's 15 goals, each scoring 5 apiece. And at the end of every athletic season, there are changes. Whether it be coaches or players, change is inevitable in college athletics. And this year, there are plenty of new faces in the coaching ranks here on the UI campus. Let's start with perhaps the most talked about this offseason, new offensive coordinator Greg Davis. He has a whopping 38 years of coaching experience, most recently at the University of Texas, where he was the offensive coordinator for 13 seasons. There he coached the likes of Heisman finalist Vince Young and Colt McCoy, and players really have taken a liking to Davis this offseason. He'll get his first chance to unveil his offense this Saturday in Chicago. And another new face in football is one many Hawkeye fans are familiar with in Brian Ferentz. Ferentz, the son of head coach Kirk Ferentz, will coach the offensive line. He comes to Iowa after having worked up the coaching ranks in the New England Patriots organization since 2008. In 2010 and 2011, Ferentz coached the tight ends in New England, where he coached the likes of record-setting Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. Brian was a letterman at Iowa from 2003 to 2005 and was among one of the most successful four-year stretches in Iowa history. He participated in the BCS FedEx Orange Bowl, 2 Outback Bowls, and the Capital One Bowl.
Deep for the touchdown, a man open at the 20, it is caught, 10, 5, touchdown, Holloway, oh my!
And the soccer team has a new full-time assistant in Julie Hanley. Hanley joins the Iowa staff after having been the graduate assistant at Illinois State the last 2 seasons. She will head up the goalkeeping unit for the Hawks. Hanley herself was a goalkeeper in college where she competed for the Kansas Jayhawks from 2005 to 2009. serving as a team captain her last 2 seasons. She ranks second in Jayhawk history in career wins, shutouts, and goals against average. And Megan Beamsdorfer is also now a full-time assistant here at Iowa. The former Hawk was an undergrad assistant in 2010 and an interim assistant in 2011. She lettered at Iowa from 2006 to 2009 and helped lead Iowa to 3 straight Big Ten tournament titles from 2006 to 2008. She was also a 2-time All-American, a 4-time Regional All-American, and a 3-time All-Conference performer. She started every game of her career and most recently was named to the 2012 U.S. Women's Field Hockey Development Squad. Wrapping up our new Hawk segment is new rowing head coach Steve Pritzker. Pritzker is only the 2nd rowing head coach in Iowa history and comes to Iowa City after serving as an assistant over the past 9 seasons at the University of Virginia. While at Virginia, Pritzker helped guide the Cavaliers to NCAA titles in 2010 and 2012, runner-up finishes in 2005 and 2007, and was also part of 8 ACC titles in his 9-year tenure. We're happy to be joined by Coach Pritzker right now. First of all, Coach, welcome to Iowa City, and how have things been going?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm just in a hotel still, so trying to get settled in. Certainly trying to get a lay of the land and figure out the campus and the city, and most importantly, getting the athletes off to a good start.
What was the biggest thing that sold you on the University of Iowa when you came in here and took a look at it?
So I think a combination of things. One is, in Big Ten, obviously, is key. The resources that exist here, really important as a city. I was joking with Aaron earlier that really a gem of a city that you wouldn't necessarily know about. And so I was saying earlier, there's no, I haven't seen a kernel of corn in Iowa City, and you expect to see that. So that was certainly something that was appealing. And then facility-wise, clearly one of the best boathouses in the country, clearly the best tanks. Put $7 million into a new boathouse that really stands out as something for a recruiting tool.
Can you kind of talk about that boathouse a little more? I mean, it's got to be really nice for a coach to walk into a newly built facility like that.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for both myself and the athletes to appreciate and not take for granted the work that went into that. I mean, the program's been around 18 years, and probably the first 14 didn't have a boathouse like that. So to be able to step in and say, turnkey operation, I think is pretty nice to have. So that definitely helps and makes your life easier. And like anywhere, there are tweaks that you say, wow, how does this work and what's the right key? But other than that, it's pretty darn nice to have.
What's the biggest key to revitalizing this Iowa program right now?
I think creating a culture of success is really important. Certainly you want to set a high bar, but you also want to appreciate who's here right now too. There are a lot of people who have committed themselves to the program, and you want to get that going. Those guys on the right page also want to be compassionate as you do it, but want to have the right athletes there that are ready to race at a high level.
You talked about the success. You had numerous success where you came from at Virginia. Is there any 1 or 2 things that you can point to that you'd like to try to bring from Virginia here to Iowa to help the Iowa program?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just setting a high standard. I think athletes want to be held accountable. And so what I've found over the years, whether they're a 13-year-old high school athlete or a 22-year-old or much less a national team person, they just want to know what the standard is, hold them accountable, and they'll take care of the work. You need to have the talent to do it, but which obviously we're working on stepping up. But really, accountability, people can do amazing things.
Well, Coach, welcome to Iowa. Best of luck in your first season, and thanks for joining us. Looking forward to talking to you down the road.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. We'll be right back after this. This show is brought to you by Carlos O'Kelly's, home of Hawk Talk with Kirk Ferentz.
Coming out of high school, growing up in Ohio, of course you want to go Big Ten. And I mean, to be honest, everyone in Ohio wants to be a Buckeye. But since day one, I had, these MAC offers, but I wanted to go Big Ten. So Iowa was there every week. I talked to Coach Phil Parker was recruiting me, so every week he was either in or calling me up, asking how I was doing, how was the family, and stuff like that. In the recruiting process, there's a lot of other schools that come and go. Coach Parker was there every week. My mom loved him. My mom loved everybody, but she really loved Coach Parker. So, it was a given to me. I felt like family since day one. Every week he was talking to me, so I appreciated that.
Micah was a leader on the basketball court. He was a point guard. He was a good baseball player, and when he played football on film, he was a free safety and a quarterback. So, he had the leadership qualities that we were looking for.
I never came to a game. I was getting recruited. So the very first game, Northern Iowa, my freshman year, I never ran out the tunnel, never did anything. So I mean, freshman year, I'm coming out, and I'm just like, holy crap, what did I get myself into?
Here's the snap, the spot. The kick is blocked again. I can't believe. Get on the football. Jump on it. Game over. Hawks win.
So after the game, I'm talking to my mom. She's like, "Wow, I know this can be a long season or whatever, And afterwards, 10 weeks later, we turn around, and it was just a great feeling. At first, I was stunned, after that game, but then at the end of that season, after winning an Orange Bowl as a true freshman, I didn't really have that big of an impact. I played special teams, but you just realize how hard it is to go to an Orange Bowl. And, it was a great season. Definitely want to get back there.
As time picked off, intercepted at the 29-yard line. Tyler Sash with a hook and ladder handoff to Greenwood. Let's check that. Micah Hyde, his buddies at midfield. 40, 35-30, 25-20. He's at the 15, 10, 5, goal line. Touchdown, Iowa! Touchdown, Iowa! Claiborne giving chase. He dumps it off, and it's intercepted by Micah Hyde. The Hawks get a turnover. Hyde angling toward the far sideline. Gets the corner turn, looking for a block or two. Gets upfield. He's at the 40, 35, 30. He's at the Missouri 25. He's going to go all the way. I don't see any flags.
There's no flag.
The Hawks regain the lead.
With majority of the plays you just talked about, it wasn't just me on them plays. I may have got the interception in the inside bowl, but everybody was blocking. Or Sash picked the ball off and just flipped to me. So on all them plays, that I've had, the defense, as a whole, we've all been, in tune and really into that play.
You kind of look for those guys that play multiple sports, and you always knew that he had a knack to make plays, and he did it in high school, and he continued to do it here, and I think what his best quality right now is really becoming a leader in the back end, and also for the team.
Every year you want to win, obviously. You want to do your best, but I think the past couple of years, we went to a bowl game, but it wasn't, the expectations we've always had here. Definitely, like I said, definitely get back to the Orange Bowl. Definitely want to, I don't have a Big Ten title yet, and my brother brags about that every day. We beat him, but he got a Big Ten title, so I definitely want to get one of them. And just lead my team. Do whatever I can to steer my team right, and lead them down the right road.
That was Micah Hyde, and he is just one of many athletes we will feature throughout the upcoming athletics season. Wrapping up our show now, we'll fill you in on what's coming up this weekend in Hawkeye athletics. Cross country will kick off their season Friday as they head to Western Illinois for the Early Bird Open. Women's soccer will have 2 games this weekend, with the first coming on Friday when they will travel to Ames to take on Iowa State. That, of course, kicks off the Iowa Corn Cy-Hawks series. They then return home Sunday to play host to Valparaiso at 1 p.m. The field hockey team hosts their home opener for the year against Missouri State, a team they defeated 10-2 last season. And volleyball has 3 upcoming games this weekend. They travel to Oakland University in Michigan and will take on Eastern Illinois, Toledo, and Oakland. And of course, the big talk surrounds football as they kick off their season in the Windy City. They will take on Northern Illinois at 2:30 p.m. Saturday at Soldier Field. That game can be seen on ESPNU. Best of luck to all teams in action this weekend. That's going to do it for our first edition of Hawkeye Sports Report. Tune back in next Thursday as Athletics Director Gary Bardo will be on set to discuss the Iowa Corn Cy-Hawks series. Have a great weekend.